Besides the longing and protective indulgence, the third element in the Indian ideology is a celebration, even an idealization of the child and childhood. In the most powerful surviving literary tradition of northern and central India, for instance, such poets of the Bhakti movement as Surdas and Tulsidas have placed childhood close to the center of poetic consciousness and creativity. Surdas, in fact, composed 500 verses on Krishna's childhood alone. Indeed, in this poetry, the celebration of the divine takes place through the metaphor of celebrations of the child. The aspects that are admiringly emphasized as divine attributes are the child's freedom and spontaneity, his simplicity, charm, and delight itself. In an adult-centered world that overvalues abstractions, prudence, and reason, it is refreshing to find popular Indian poetry celebrating such childlike virtues as intensity and vivaciousness, capacity for sorrow and delight, mercurial anger, and an equally quick readiness to forgive and forget injuries. In the Indian vision, these qualities are not seen as childish, to be socialized out of existence, but valuable attributes of humans of all ages, since they are an expression of the divine. Well, the Hindi popular cinema has been very important to me. It is a child cinema, and it kind of evokes responses which are very like children, quick identifications, because the characters are never complex. The villains are always villainous, the heroes are heroic, the heroines are always very heroic looking, so that there are no kind of complexities and the mixed up kind of people we all are in real life. And that is very good for the child to come up. And I think I have always been interested in Hindi cinema as a link to childhood and a link to the child within. As a child, of course, you think it is the adult's world, and that's the interesting part of it, because they all look adult, and you think maybe that's what the adult world is like. But you discover only later that it is an adult world seen through child's eyes. So I used to slip into and watch movies, the matinee shows mostly. And so I've seen some movies 16 times, 14 times, Ratan, Shikari. So I remember those movies with great pleasure. And one of my, unfortunately, regrets has remained that when all the older boys and men used to kind of whistle whenever some good scene was there, and especially if some very lovely young woman was there, that I could never learn that. And I have to do this, either the O one or this one. I've never learned it, but I still want to make that up. So that is a very happy memory of watching all those wonderful movies and being in this dark theater and in the theater of imagination, really. For me, of course, as a child, these were promise of youth. My own, this is what would be wonderful to be, like all these young men around me who kind of sit lolled back in the seats, give a whistle when something occurs, give comments, and the kind of ease and control of the world which they display, which I'm sure they didn't have in their real lives, but in the cinema hall, of course. So that was a control which I envied and wanted myself. In Partition riots, we were in Rohtak, and the main thing was that a lot of family members of my father's family, they were all there. I was 9 years old. I just turned 9. And there were a lot of stories which were told about what happened from the places they came in, Lahore, Sialkot. It was not only personal stories, it's also stories they had heard. And I think telling stories of what has happened was very, very important for them therapeutically to deal with the things. So as a child, I heard lots of stories of kind of great cruelties, great atrocities, and I think I shared, as a child must, the whole consternation, the anger of all these adults. I think I shared at that time also the feeling of how can adults feel so helpless? So that must have been scaring for a child, that the adults can feel so helpless, that they can be driven away, their lives completely turned upside down. The servant's name was Chetram, so we went to the bazaar. Which town it was, again, they kind of all get mixed up. Whether it's Sargodha, Rohtak, I have no idea. But he was getting all kind of things tattooed, wonderful butterflies with colors, and I insisted that I also wanted a tattoo. So they tried to dissuade me, but after all I was the little master, so it had to be done. So the tattoo man started. So first he started much too near, so he had to kind of rub it out. He tried to make an Om out of it. Then he started here, and he asked my name, so I kind of stammered a little, and I said Sudhir Kakar, and by the time I did the second case, 2 Ks had already come in. I'm glad that I didn't stammer much, otherwise there would have been 3 or 4 Ks here. And of course when I came back, my parents were furious. That was a very low class thing to do, and I'm afraid Chetram got the boot. He was sacked. I felt a bit bad about it, since I had insisted. But well, this is something I'm stuck with since many years ago. The only advantage people tell me is that I won't get lost. They'll always find me. I moved from place to place. In fact, the longest I stayed in a place till my adulthood was Germany, Mannheim, in a place for 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. I never stayed in any place in India for that much time. So it was always going from one to the other, which means which means the family became really the focus, not the things itself, not the house, not the gardens, not the other friends, companions, but the family became the focus and not the others. And it is the rootedness. I think we kind of always think of metaphors as if rootedness means as if it's a plant metaphor, as if people are trees. It may well be true. I don't think people are trees. People can be birds too. I'm not sure about it. I won't say rootedness is that important. Maybe I had to make the best job of it, so I'm saying trees are not that important. Perhaps they are. I really can't say.
I've just stayed in Delhi all my life, and we moved house once, and it was a big thing. So I don't know whether he's like that, attached to things around him, like houses or streets or people, maybe family, because family moved with him. But other than that, which I am, so it's quite a strange concept to not be that attached to things around you. Because I am, like, as a person, I'm extremely attached to the house I live in, the people, the streets. I'm used to it. I like it. I don't want to change it if I could, that kind of thing. So if you have to constantly change that every 2 years, and against your will, it's a different thing to change it because you want to. But if someone moves, family moves, and you have to, not because you want to, because your father is moving. I don't know whether that is taken, I don't know how he dealt with that. You don't have the questions coming into your thing?
No.
Like you can't hear the questions? Then it's okay. Because the questions are different and his answers are very different.
What she was saying was that I kind of
so badly.
I deviate
Very nicely.
when the questions I cannot answer or don't want to answer, that I give answers to different questions. It doesn't matter because those questions are not going to come.
I think it's well done.
I think I'm not nostalgic about my childhood because I have so much of it still going on. So nostalgia is something you have lost. I don't think I've lost it. So I think that is also one reason one doesn't have to be nostalgic. I mean, those memories, those fantasies of childhood still kind of keep on coursing in various ways through it. Yeah.